Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk through a little bit about planning and organization. So one thing that I think has really set me apart in my careers and in business in general and in life in general is the ability to format a plan and execute a plan on a weekly and daily basis. I think that's something that we probably don't talk enough about in business, and giving the core foundation to our teammates and our employees on how to really organize and structure their week, right? I think a lot of people still come into the day and organize their life through inbox triage, right? So they are spending their time focusing on answering emails and prioritizing their day really on a whim through their inbox, right? So if I don't plan my week intentionally, everything falls apart. Working in multiple businesses, having six kids, we have six kids in different activities, right? Between acting and baseball and soon to be dance. If we get into that world, all of that becomes more and more chaotic in different age groups and different businesses and different priorities, right? So I use a pretty simple system on a weekly basis to really stay grounded and focused. And we'll explore that a little bit today and what that looks like. So we'll talk a little bit about just in general living in that reaction mode, right? And I see this all the time in my corporate job where most people are in that inbox triage mode, right? They are living through their inbox, and that's their to-do list, and that is how they're prioritizing their time. And oftentimes that's where things get missed. One, like you have to have a really great inbox management system in place in order to really triage that way. And I don't recommend that because I think things get lost and you don't really control your day. Other people are controlling your day at that point. I really believe in time blocking and controlling your calendar. Otherwise, someone else is going to control your calendar. So those are just, some important things that we'll unpack as we're going through this series on planning and organization and structuring your week and your day. So we'll continue to jump into that part as well. I think a lot of people end up confusing progress with motion, right? And just because we are in motion doesn't mean we're progressing. Even if we are well-intentioned with our day and we're working through the different priorities that come up that day, if you're not controlling that time frame and actually executing on projects that matter, all we're doing is checking off boxes and moving through the motion, right? So that's where the difference of prioritizing your day comes into play, and then just working through your day, if you would. When you're just moving through the motions and just putting out fires, if you would, and handling things as they come up instead of being proactive, right? It's proactive versus reactive management, and managing your schedule goes right into that. So the goal is, not perfection, right? The goal is guardrails, and a weekly plan gives you guardrails. It's funny because if you know Dave Ramsey often talks about like the nerd in the family. So you have like the one that is the planner, that likes Excel spreadsheets, that likes budgets and all those things. And that's me. And that's not my wife. I love my wife dearly, but she is not the planner. She's not the organizer. And that's been something that she's getting a lot better at, and we're working together on. And she's kind of coming over to my world of planning and execution now that we have six kids that are actively doing things, and they're out of diapers and in sports and activities now, where if we don't plan, we will fail and our life will get chaotic, right? So again, the goal is not perfection. The goal is guardrails for the week and moving ourselves forward so that we are functioning and we are working towards a common goal, right? So that's at work, that's in corporate world, that's in local business, that's in family, that's in the organizations that we volunteer for. All of this stuff all stems around the fact that we have to have a plan in place, and that's not perfect. So we'll unpack a little bit about what that system looks like. So I actually start my planning a little bit differently is I time block an hour or two every Thursday to sit down well intentioned to format my week of the following week for the next week, not the following week, but for the next week. And I'll use Thursday as that time block. It just happens to fall really well with my schedule and how I can prioritize my time. But I'll time block an hour to 2 hours every Thursday. I don't use all that time, but if I don't block that time off, I will get sucked into something else and I won't have that time to plan my week. And if I don't plan my week, my next week will fail. When I'm sitting down there for the planning aspect and looking through my planner, I really start by reviewing the previous week first, right? So the week that I'm in, I'll spend time going through that. Okay, how am I looking for the rest of Thursday and Friday to take those projects that I have in place, and am I going to complete those this week, or do I know I'm not going to complete all that stuff? I need to roll that to next week, right? What moved the needle this week? What failed? What worked? Any unfinished commitments that I had, that's when I'll start listing out my whole plan for next week. Now, I use a combination of a digital and analog system. So I actually use this notebook here. It's a Nemesis grid-lined notebook. And we'll jump into this and you get some closer up examples of it. But it is this like Japanese paper. I am a total nerd these days, and I love fountain pens and stationery and all that stuff, right? But when I am planning out my week, I'll get some close-up shots in here as well. But we have two different sections. I have a work on deck section, which you can see here is work on deck. And then I have the weekly game plan. So those two sections is where I kind of brain dump, if you would, what's going on for that week, right? And that's the work on deck page. So the work on deck page is going to be my criteria on listing out all of my projects that I have going on that week, right? So I'll have a strategic think section. I have my A1 projects for that week. I have a section for SAM, a section for NCC, which is our local company. I have a personal section. I have what's on the radar. And what's on the radar section is just a like dump tank of different projects that we have going on in life, right? So it's like things that don't need to get done necessarily at this point in time, but they're things that I want to write down, right? So things might come up during the week and things might come into fruition, or I just need to make a note, right? Like, hey, I need to get the protein bars from Walmart, right? So I'll write that down on what's on the radar because I don't need to do it right now, but it's going to come up and I need to get it done in general, right? And then I have a little section that's for brand and content where I'm just recording different projects that I'm working on from a creation standpoint. Okay, so as we're looking at the planner here, this is what my planner will look like on a weekly basis. So like I was going over before, you have your work on deck page. I have my strategic think, A1 projects, my corporate job, the business that we own, any personal items, branded content, and then what's on the radar, like we were just talking about. And that's kind of like my dump tank of any items that I need to add that aren't here right now, need to get them done at some point. But if I have time during the week, then I might move them from what's on the radar to one of the action items over here. Over here is the weekly game plan. So it breaks it down where I have each day of the week broken out. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a brief notes section here. I also have a margin in here and over here. So this way, if I need to add any notes on the schedule, I can do that as well. Now, when I'm breaking these down per section over here of day of the week, what I do is I take my work on deck. I prioritize my work on deck for what days I need to get projects done on. This is how I plan out the week, everything of that nature. And then I'll move it over to this section over here, which gives me my breakdown of every day. So when I'm doing that, I'm going to show you what the week that I'm currently in here. This is what it looks like. Yes, I have chicken scratch handwriting, but I can read it. Sorry if you can't read it. But I'll list out all of my different projects and different areas and things of that nature. And then I will take my red pen here and I'll mark those as they pertain to each day of the week, right? So what does that look like? So Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, so on and so forth. Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. Those are the projects I'm working on those days. And then I'll take those projects, move them over to here, and then over here for each day of the week. So Monday, I have my meetings that I have to attend, the times, who they're with, so on and so forth. Then I have, like I had to go to the bank and mailbox, so I marked that down in red as well. But then I have the different projects for that day. I try to limit to 5 projects per day, so this way I can still get things done and have some buffer time for email, catch up, just my regular task management duties and things of that nature. So then I'll go through each of those days, and out of those 5 projects I will rank those 1 through 5. So this way, when I'm dumping them on here, I don't need to prioritize them right then and there. I just go through and I'll rank them by the day, right? So if I looked at today's projects that I'm working on, I would rank these as my priority, right? So this one here is number 1. This is number 2 priority. This is number 3 priority. And then this is number 4 priority. And I left it at 4 priorities because I have some larger meetings these days that are going to take up some of my time. So that's how I would use this here. And then I'll have that broken out for the whole week, right? So going back to when I'm planning on Thursdays, what I'll do is I'll get to this point where I have this here, and then I'll begin to just list my projects out in these different sections from things that I know I need to do, or if there's projects from the previous week or the week that I'm in, if I know that I'm not going to be able to accomplish those, I'll move those to this new work week here. Now that as I am planning out the calendar and I'm time blocking these things here and I'm moving priorities, I try to keep to 5 projects or priorities per day, right? What I found is that even sometimes getting 5 done in a day, if you're full of meetings and calls and things of that nature, that it's really difficult to do. So when I'm planning that out and I'm moving those from what's on the radar to the daily calendar portion of it, I am putting my meetings in red, like I showed you before. I'm putting those in red on the actual days of the week. So if I know that I have 2 meetings that day, I should be able to get 5 projects done, if they're not like large scale projects, right? But if I have 5 or 6 meetings, which sometimes that happens where I have 5 or 6 hour-long meetings a day, I know that I'm not going to be able to get 4 or 5 projects done. So I might only have 1 project listed that day as the most important project that I have that day, and then I'm working through that. So you kind of have to plan in sand, if you would, based on your calendar. So when you're looking at these things, what I like to do is I like to look at the week that I'm in. I like to look at the week that I have coming up, and I like to look at my calendar and look at the meetings that I have for those days coming. So this way I understand what meetings I have and where I have chunks of time available to work on projects. And then that'll help prioritize how many of those projects actually get listed on that page for me to do that day. Now, when I have those done and I have those listed, so if I have them here and I have my projects listed, or my meetings listed in red, and then I have my projects, right? So those are the meetings I have that day in red, and then the projects I have there in blue, and then they're prioritized. What I'll do is during the day, I take this and I put this away, right? Because otherwise I'll get simply distracted and I won't be able to continue to stay focused on those core projects that I have. So then I have this little system here. It's a little, you guys have probably seen these across the internet nowadays, but it's to just help prioritize and manage your time. So there's these little cards and they just kind of stick right down here and here. And this little magnetic tray, and then it sticks those out of the way. So I have a whole bunch of them in there, and that goes on top. And then my card goes right into this little stand, right? So as it's in the stand, and then on this card, I take those projects for the day and I list those out on this card. So now this lives on my desktop, and this is the projects that I have this day. And those are the projects that I spend my time on, right? So they're in my planner, they get rewritten in here. Now, by the time I'm done rewriting this stuff, it's burned into my head, right? And I know what I need to get done, but then I have this visual that sits in my desk all day long, and I mark those off as I go. So this way I know that I'm staying in tune with my projects and I'm getting that stuff taken care of throughout the day, right? So this system, right, it's what keeps me organized and on point. I've used various systems throughout my career. This seems to be one of the most convenient and most prioritized, and it helps me to stay diligent in what I get done on a regular basis, right? It doesn't eliminate chaos. It doesn't keep me on track no matter what, right? Things happen, life comes up, bunch of kids, bunch of different job duties to do. All of those things are what takes some time and some practice of getting that done. This puts up guardrails. So again, right, the system is nothing perfect, right? And you can make renditions to whatever works for you. It's just a system that's kept me grounded and has been able to keep me productive throughout the different years of management and life stages of kids and chaos and all those different things there, right? So that's what helps me, and we'll continue to unpack that because there's some other pieces to that. There's a piece that I use OneNote for, which is in the productivity world, there's something called the second brain. And that will work in conjunction with OneNote as well. And we'll get into that in a deeper section that's based on second brain and everything of that nature as well. So as we continue to work through that, I'll end up shooting just a video on actual planning and working through the whole system together. So if you're building something while you're trying to lead at home, right, this is something that can help you if you have a business, whether you're in just any type of entry level business where you have to manage your time and meetings and balance those things out, or if you're working at an executive level, or if you're just trying to run the household, right? This is just the system that can help work and put those in place for you to help put those guardrails up and keep you focused throughout the day here. So again, every week we'll have new videos on leadership, productivity, faith, useful tech, and building with intention. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.